Hello there, wonderful stitchy friends. I'm Kat, and this is my channel, Catkin and Lillie, where we talk all things cross stitch. Whether you're a returning viewer or whether you've just found me for the first time, then thank you so much for coming to spend some time with me. I hope you'll enjoy seeing all my cross stitch updates. So today is a FlossTube video, but if you're new here, you'll find I also do videos on tips and tutorials as well, so I hope that might be something that you enjoy. But as I say, today is a FlossTube video, so we are catching up with all my cross stitch progress over the last couple of weeks. This is episode number 17, and it is I forgot what date it is. It's the 21st of February. Yeah, that's kind of where my brain is at today. And I certainly do have a very packed and exciting, well, I hope exciting episode for you today, because I've got 2 new starts, both stitch alongs. I've got one finish, also a stitch along, and an FFO, which isn't a stitch along. I've also got some progress on some of the regular whips that I've been sharing over quite a few months, but we've also got a little bit of a rotation going on, so there'll be something new coming in as well as those new starts. So yeah, there's lots going on. I just have one piece of new stash to share with you, which you'll see when we get into my new starts. But I think we should start with the finish because, well, that's super exciting. So you might have guessed what the finish is if you've been watching any of my recent FlossTubes, and it is of course Castle Homecoming by the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. So this was a stitch along that started in May 2023, came out in 10 parts. The last part was released at the beginning of February, and I was hoping to finish it by the end of February, and I have. So yeah, that's fantastic. So let's see what it looks like. There we are. That is all finished. I'm so happy with that. And yes, it is finished because I finally finished the jousting flag. Again, if you've been watching my previous episodes, you'll know I was having a bit of a moment with the final jousting flag and couldn't decide what colour to stitch it in. And I tried colours, taken it out, tried colours, taken it out. It was getting a bit silly, to be honest. And you can even see, possibly, on the bottom here, this was me testing out some colours. And so there's jousting flags in here. These ones were fine. This is the one I finally decided on the colours for. All done. Yellow and pink. So, all done, including the jousting flag, and I've ironed it. I'm not washing it because it is a hand-dyed fabric, and there's also some variegated threads in there. So I'll show you on here. These ones are not very variegated, but the blue up here was variegated. And then this one's, you can see the swirls of magic are that go through here, and there's, I don't even know, there's some various other little bits along here as well, I think. So those threads were hand-dyed threads, so that with the hand-dyed fabric, I have not washed this. It might be the first piece that I've never actually washed, so that's kind of a first for me, but I didn't want to risk it. I've ironed it and it looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. I don't know quite what I'm going to do to finish it yet. I don't think I want to take it and have it professionally framed. I've had so much fun stitching it, and I do want to put it up somewhere, but I don't think I want to spend the money on having it professionally framed, because I do quite a lot and I do need to pick which ones, you know, will get that money spent on them. So I'm kind of thinking at the moment that I might stretch it around a board and possibly mount it on something and then put it on an easel. That's actually how they showed it displayed when they were showing the model stitching for this piece, and I quite like it. So yeah, to be decided, but we'll definitely be doing something with it and putting it up somewhere. Definitely going on display, but the exact finishing still to be decided. So let's keep the excitement going with moving on to my FFO. And this one you might have seen if you follow me on Instagram. I finished my bear and envelope design that was one of my own designs, which is available on Etsy, and I made it into a little Valentine's Day plaque, I guess, for lovely husband Dr. Tim. And here it is. So just finished it off. I had this lovely board. I got this board from Hobbycraft and I finished it off. It's basically a big kind of papercraft topper with some little details that I've used. As I say, I have a lot of papercraft stash, and so I tend to use that quite a lot to kind of finish off my items. Now, you'll also know, if you saw my post on Instagram, I was very excited that I'd made this topper as, I'm hoping this is actually going to work on camera, I might have to turn it sideways. It comes off. So I've basically made it with magnets on the board and magnets on the back of here, so that then I could use this board for something else. So basically I could make more toppers like this with the magnet strips on the back, and then it's just a case of popping it on. Now you do have to, if you stick it straight on, it often ends up a bit on the wonk. So you have to kind of find the right spot for it. There we go. And then it'll just clip into place. So my thinking was that it means I can reuse this board and put different things on it for different times, because I did get a few of these boards because I quite liked them, but this way I can just change the topper out. So yeah, I was feeling quite proud of myself for that one, but I guess you can let me know what you think of it. So time to move on to the whips. And the first one is, as always, my chameleon. You've been seeing it a lot. I do feel like the end is finally in sight. I've been making such good progress on it. Every couple of weeks when we catch up, I've been sharing some really good progress, but I still felt like there was a lot to do. And I finally feel like I'm really in the home stretch. So let's see where we're at. And you can see I've now finished all of this bottom section here. So we're now just, it's the section at the top on his head. It kind of comes out in a lump around here. So you can see I've been working a little bit in this section up here. So that is the good news. The bad news is that I've run out of a colour. Now, I've heard a few times, actually quite a lot of times, with Bothy Threads kits, people saying they've run out of colours. And I've not had it happen to me, but I've been very close on some occasions. And it's really weird because I've finished some colours in this design and got quite a lot left. Like an entire length or more of, 6-stranded length left. And yet I've run out of a colour. So it's a bit frustrating, but I'm hopeful that they will just replace, or send me another strand if I ask them to, because this actually happened to my mum fairly recently. She was, again, right near the end of a kit, Bothy Threads kit, ran out of some. She contacted them and they did send her another length of thread. So I'm sure they will do that for me as well. It's just a bit disappointing because it means I can't push on to a finish, because the way I like to stitch, I don't like to leave gaps. So I'm not going to be able to finish everything and just leave that bit to fill in, because that'll upset my brain. So I am also worried in case any of the other colours that I've yet to complete are going to run out as well. So my plan at the moment is to carry on stitching it and get as far as I can. The bit that I've run out of basically is just in here. So I can complete all of this bit up here down to about here, and there's only going to be a little bit at this end that I won't be able to do. So I think if I can stitch as much as I can, just to check that I don't think I'm going to run out of any other threads, because I don't want to request one thread colour and then find I run out of another one. So I want to get as far as I can, see what I need to request, put that thread request in, and hopefully get that, and then hopefully it could be finished sometime soon. So that's been a little bit disappointing, because I'm also quite frugal with my thread, so especially because I know with the Bothy Threads kits it can be a problem. So I'm really gutted that I've run out of a colour still. But on the plus side, I also mentioned last time that I was struggling a little bit with how rough the threads felt, and that I didn't feel that the stitches were lying really nicely. And it suddenly occurred to me that perhaps I should try some thread conditioner, and I did. And yeah, it's actually made quite a big difference. The thread conditioner I have is Thread Heaven, which you can't get hold of anymore, but you can get Thread Magic, which is, I think, basically the same thing. Or you could use beeswax. I actually have some beeswax as well, so I might test that as well and compare. I found them both to be quite good. But yeah, the thread conditioner, it's smoothing the threads out. They feel much nicer to work with. And I don't know if they're lying nicer. I feel like the stitches are lying a bit neater, but honestly, I might be imagining that. But it's certainly nicer to work with. So yeah, that's been quite a win. I think I would use that for all the Bothy Threads kits, and definitely recommend it. I sort of wish I'd done it earlier, because I tell people to try thread conditioner if they're not loving the threads, and I didn't take my own advice until quite late in the day with this kit. But at least I found it now, and yeah, definitely a good plan. Whip number 2 to show you is Chromatic Dragon. So obviously still going to be plugging away on this, and you're going to be seeing it every single time. But there's usually quite a lot to see, and yeah, again, I've made some nice progress. I'm now at, let's check, 29,290 stitches, which is bang on 14%. Yes, I've just hit another nice milestone, 14%. So here's what that looks like. So I've still been alternating between stitching the dark section up here and then coming down and stitching more colourful bits. Let's show you that, it's a little bit more interesting to look at. So yeah, it's looking very good. I've probably dotted around and done other odd little bits in here as well, but I think the main progress is here and up here. Now, I might be switching around a little bit when I work on this. It's been being worked on 3 days a week, and I've got a couple of other things that I need to bump up in priority a little bit. Some of the new starts you'll see. So I might switch this around a bit, and it's also, funnily enough, this project is actually one I can stitch in the evenings. It might be tiny, tiny stitches, but I don't find it that hard to work on. It's not that hard for my eyes. I don't know why. And you'll see later, I've got some other projects that I actually find harder to stitch in the evening. So yeah, I might just switch things around a little bit, but we'll see. My next whip, again, it's one you've been seeing regularly, and it's The Winter's Gift by Joan Elliott. And I started this one in December, at the beginning of December. And very sadly, this is the last time you're going to see it for a little bit. More on that in a minute. Let me show you where we're at. So, this is where we're at. I've done lots more. I think I'd done up here last time. I know I've mostly worked this blue and white stripe section here, and I've worked along here. And then I went back to this section. Let me see if I can bring this in a bit for you. And I've done some of the Chromatic. There's some back stitch, which actually goes, you can see, around the edge of this piece. And also some little gold bits on there as well. So it was really nice to get that back stitch, and I wanted to get some of that in and get some of that detail on there and kind of finished area bits before I put her away, because yes, she's going away, going on time out for a little bit. I said I was going to work on her to the end of February, and she's a weekend project, and there is one more weekend left in February. But it's going to be quite a busy one. I don't think I'm going to have time to stitch on her. So I've decided this is where I'm calling it a day on her for the moment. And the plan is that she will come back out in November, which seems like a really long time away. I might bring her back for some kind of, I don't know, Christmas in July. I'm not sure I can not touch it until November, but generally she's going away. But that's because something else is coming back into the rotation. So it's not sad. Well, it is a little bit, but there's also good reasons for it, and it's fun to change up the projects. I do enjoy putting some of them away for a bit and coming back to them. Yeah, that's also quite fun. And my last whip, before we get into the new starts, is the Christmas mugs by Shannon Designs, and there's 3 mugs out. I'm at least getting quite close to a finish on the first mug now. So yeah, still not getting a huge amount of love this project, although it moves quite fast when I do get to stitch on it. So here's where I'm at with the first one, and it really is nearly finished. I've just got a bit more of the border to do, and I think, oh, and there's a tiny bit left of the green at the bottom here. So it is pretty close, that one. I should be able to finish that one fairly soon. But then I think mug number 4 will be out, oh, really soon anyway, beginning of March. So yeah, I'm still very behind on this. It's still fine. This one really is still at the bottom of my pile, and it will probably still be because new starts. So yeah, sorry Christmas mugs, you're staying at the bottom of the pile. So it must be time for my new starts. 2 of them. And as I say, they are both stitch alongs. And I talked about them, I've mentioned both of these previously. So the first one is the Historical Sampler Company All Things Grow with Love stitch along, which they very kindly gifted to me along with the kind of associated goodie box. And of course I couldn't wait to make a start. The first part came out on Monday the 19th. And I pretty much dived straight in on Monday. So yeah, I've made a bit of a start, and here we are. So that's basically half the design. It's mirrored across. So I've actually done, this is almost all of this half done. So the design is coming out in 4 parts. So it'll be the top part, and then it will work down in 4 parts. So I've done almost half of that first part, I think, which is pretty good going in a couple of days. You can tell I was enjoying it. It's one of those ones where, because you've got those little motifs, you go, oh, I could just stitch one more motif. Well, I'll just stitch this up. It's like, it's just pulls you in. You just want to stitch one more little bit and see that coming to life. Now I've gone for the Ada option on here. You can do it with the linen option, or if obviously you can use your own fabric if you just get the PDF pattern for it. I did Ada because I thought it would be easier for speed and for counting. Because there are motifs and they're scattered apart and you need to count between them. Honestly, I don't always trust my counting, and particularly on linen or even weave, I just thought for this one, I want something that's a nice easy stitch. So I've just gone for the Ada. It's a 16 count. And it's stitching up beautifully. It's a really lovely, relaxing stitch, beautiful bright colours. Yeah, it's just going to be lovely to stitch. Now, I did say I had the little goodie box with it, which I showed you in the last video. And I said I would report back on the scissors. These are the little scissors that I had in there. They are so small, so cute, and I can report. I've been using them and they are absolutely fantastic. Really nice to use, a really nice clean snip. So yeah, happy with those. I also showed you the needle minder that they sent. And I have to be honest, I'm slightly less impressed with the needle minder. It's so beautiful, but it doesn't actually hold the needle super well. And I don't know why. It's got the same kind of magnets on the back that I would expect to see. It's a metal needle minder, so it should be quite good, but I find the needle, when you put the needle on here, it doesn't stay nicely firmly in place. It kind of moves around a bit. It kind of only wants to sit in certain places. So I have to admit, I am not loving the needle minder so much. I don't really feel the needle is super secure. So I might just put it somewhere just so I can enjoy looking at it because it's pretty, but I don't think I'm going to be using it as a needle minder. Now, of course, if you want to join in the stitch along, then you can. Obviously, that's only the first part that's come out. So loads of time to jump on board with this one. And as I say, it is actually quite a quick stitch. You probably wouldn't need a huge amount of time to stitch this one. In fact, I know a few of you have said in the comments that you're stitching this as well, so that's really exciting. And if you do want to join in, I'll put a link in the description for you so that you can go and sign yourself up. My second stitch along new start is the Wonders of the James Webb Space Telescope by Climbing Goat Designs. And I've been talking about this, well, it feels like I've been talking about this for ages, because obviously I signed up for it, I think, right at the beginning of January, and the first part came out on the 25th of January, and I haven't been able to start it because I was waiting on some fabric. So the story with the fabric is that I was looking for something that would be like a nice night sky for it, kind of like in the model stitch you'll see in the picture. And I ordered a piece of fabric from Chromatic Alchemy, which usually takes quite a while to arrive, so I knew I would be waiting for it. But unfortunately, the lady who runs it has also been sick, so there's been more delays on getting that, and I still haven't had that. I ordered it back at the beginning of January, and unfortunately it still isn't here yet. But in the meantime, I had also ordered a second piece of fabric because I had messaged Kate from Sparkly's and said I was thinking about doing this stitch along, and I thought maybe this fabric that she had would be a good match, and what did she think? And she was really kind and compared that fabric to some other ones that she had and said she thought it was a good choice. So that was really fantastic customer service. Thank you very much for that, Kate. And so I ordered a piece of fabric and it arrived just the other week, and I just decided to start on it because ideally I wanted both pieces of fabric so I could decide which to use. But the one from Sparkly's arrived and I absolutely loved it, and lovely husband Dr. Tim approved it. He thought it was perfect too. So I've just decided to start on it and not wait for the other piece because I'm sure I can use that for something else. So that's enough waffling. I'm sure you probably really want to see where I've got to, which isn't a whole lot because I did only start this 2 days ago, I think. So I haven't got very far, but I've managed 3 hexagons and a little bit in this one, which is going to be the Pillars of Creation. Now I've left it like this, the fabric, so you can see, I thought it might be helpful to see, this is how I've got it rolled up and clipped at both ends. But I'll unroll it now so you can have a peek at how gorgeous the whole piece of fabric is. I'm going to try and come back here so you can see it. Look at that. It goes all the way down there. Bit more purple at the bottom perhaps. And obviously I've got the light shining through because I now haven't got it on the board. But it's absolutely beautiful. The design won't fit all, it won't go all the way to the bottom. So the very bottom part of the fabric here, that won't have anything on it. It doesn't go quite that far down. So I've just started at the top, left myself some nice margins up there, and then I'll work my way down. So all the hexagons are out, so I could stitch all the hexagons, but I did want to get to filling in the one hexagon that's got the picture available, that's, you know, all filled in. So I want to fill that in first. So I'm going to work on that, work on filling in the hexagons. And part 2 is out on the 25th of February, which is Sunday, I think. So then I think we get 2 more hexagon pictures. So depending on where they are, I can work the hexagons round to those pictures and start doing those as well. Now, one other fun thing with this is obviously it's dark fabric and I've gone Ada. Again, I did not want to be counting. Well, actually, the counting probably wouldn't have been an issue. I didn't want to be stitching on dark fabric on linen or even weave. And I think the big advantage of linen or even weave is that the stitching kind of pops and the background, because of the way the holes are in the fabric, the background kind of fades away and your stitching really takes centre stage. But with such a dark fabric, you really won't see the holes anyway, so there's not really a huge advantage to using linen or even weave. So I thought Ada would be absolutely fine. It would be easier for stitching on a, I say dark fabric, it's not super dark. If I put it back on the board, because you can see the colour better on there, it's not crazy dark. I don't know, I think it is. It might be making it look a little bit lighter on camera than it is, but it is dark still, so I thought that would be easier. And it is 16 count. But of course it isn't 16 count because I ordered 16 count. But we all know with hand-dyed fabrics, they do shrink a little bit. And I like to measure them just to see. And this one's probably 18 count. So yeah, it's even tinier little stitches. So it's not been too bad to stitch so far, but again, this is not going to be a stitch it in the evening. No way am I going to be stitching this. This is going to have to be a daytime stitch, which is why I might swap things around a bit with the dragon, because I need to stitch this one in the daytime. Anyway, as you can tell, I'm really excited to have actually finally started this. I can't wait to stitch some more on it. I might even do a bit more today, but also dragon. Decisions. So as I said, I don't have any new stash. That was it. That bit of fabric was my bit of new stash. I do have some more fabric that is going to be arriving soon. Quite a few lots. There's the Chromatic Alchemy fabric that I'm still awaited. I did my first fabric Super Sunday from Coffee Craft Fabrics and ordered a few, so hopefully those will be here soon, which is very exciting. And I ordered a couple of pieces from Polstitches, not for anything in particular. They were ready to ship ones from the Etsy shop and they just looked really pretty. So I've got quite a lot of fabric. So next time round, I think there might be a lot of fabric to show you. Which means we must be on to my plans. And I've kind of alluded to a few things as we've gone through the video. As far as WIP Go is concerned, that's doing pretty well. My February goals was 5 days on a fancy lady, so that's done. And 5 days on Christmas, which is not done. It's basically going to be the Christmas mugs, and I've actually only done 3 days. So even though I said that was going to be easy, I need to squeeze in 2 more days on that before the end of February. But that should be fine. I just kind of seem to have left it a bit to the last minute. Then, of course, we'll have WIP Go goals for March. Will be drawn on the 25th of February, so again, that's Sunday. So I'll have to wait and see what those are and how that's going to fit into my plans. And as I mentioned earlier, since the winter's gift is going away for a little bit, I hinted that there is another project coming back into the rotation. Did you guess what it was? It's Rosa, my mermaid, my Bella Filipina mermaid. I've got her here to show you, just as a little reminder. This is Rosa. There's not a huge amount left to do, but then there is obviously still some Chromatic backstitch and beading and all sorts to get to on there, so probably more left to do than I think. But yes, mermaid's coming back. Really excited to bring her back into the rotation, and I will be aiming to finish her. Don't quite know how long that will take, but yeah, she's back in until she's finished, so that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm so excited. I was going to pick her straight back up again, but I'm actually going to give it a week or two, mainly so I can catch up on the telescope stitch along, because I'm a bit behind on that. It took me so long to start it. I kind of want to put a bit of love into that. Then I'll pick the mermaid back up in only a week or two. I might still have stitched on her by the time we catch up again in a few weeks, so probably will, because I probably won't be able to resist her. And as you know, I also have another fancy lady waiting in the wings to be started, the lovely Sorceress kit from Joan Elliott that I've got. So I don't quite know when that's going to fit. I'd like to make a start on that, but I don't quite know where that's going to go. And I actually had another planned new start, a floral spring piece that I wanted to start in March because we're going away for a few days and I like to have a sort of holiday start. And I had lined that one all up and prepped it ready to start. But I feel like this is a lot of new starts and only one finish so far. So yeah, I don't know. It might be getting a bit start heavy, but I think we'll play it by ear. So I guess I will wrap up now with any other business, my life updates, and well, at least there's not really any gardening to distract me from all the stitching I want to be doing, because it is very wet still here in the UK. Very wet. I have managed a couple of really short sessions in the garden with a bit of tidying, but there's a lot to be done. So as soon as the weather actually starts being a bit nicer, I can start trying to do a little bit of gardening. I mean, I guess cross stitch, gardening, always say progress is progress, right? Any little bit you can do, it's still progress. And I did say I had quite a busy weekend coming up this weekend because it is my sister-in-law's 11th birthday. Yeah, it's a bit of a tired joke. She's obviously not 11. She's a leap year baby. So she only really gets a proper birthday every 4 years. So that would make her 11 or 44. So we're going to be celebrating her birthday this weekend, which will be fun. So yeah, catching up with some family. I'll probably still get some stitchy time, but not as much as I would if I was at home for the weekend. And we will be home on Sunday in time to watch the big football match because Liverpool are playing Chelsea in the EFL Cup final. So obviously that's a bit of a must watch in our house since, as I have mentioned before, lovely husband Dr. Tim does work for Liverpool Football Club. So we kind of have a vested interest. So I will be watching that. Watching, as always. I will still be stitching. I know it's a big match. I'll probably watch a bit more than I normally would, but I'm still going to be stitching. And I was going to say I'll catch up with you again in a couple of weeks' time. It actually might be earlier or later than that. I'm not sure. As I say, we are going away for a few days. Not quite sure where I'm going to film in all of that. So yeah, just watch this space. And I guess if you don't want to miss out, then maybe consider subscribing to my channel, which also makes me do a little happy dance every time I get a subscriber. In fact, spoiler alert, I'm getting quite close to a rather nice milestone with my subscribers. So at this point, let me say thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed to the channel. It is amazing to me how many of you there are, and I'm excited to hit a nice milestone. And yes, I'll tell you now, if you're still watching this video, you're going to get the first notification that I am going to do a bit of a giveaway when I hit that milestone. In fact, if you're still here and you still want I thought this was quite funny. I watch my subscriber numbers going up, and the other day I looked at my numbers and it said 3799. And my first thought was, ooh, DMC, that's a very dark grey colour. What are we like when we see numbers and immediately associate them with DMC thread colour numbers? Anyway, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you'll consider subscribing and get me to that nice little milestone, and then I can share some lovely goodies with you all. I hope to see you all again soon, and until then, happy stitching. Bye for now.